Let's check out today's conversation. Mike sits down with the CEO of Globe Life Liberty National, Steve DiChiaro. We get to hear Steve's entire life story, from essentially growing up without a childhood.
From age 12 to 17 till I left to college, I did the laundry, I cooked, I did the banking.
To risking it all, leaving a career of 10 years.
And I went in and I quit in style.
To using all his life experience to climb to the very top.
You look at my education, upbringing, resume, and you look at who I am today, it makes no sense.
All of this coming up next on the Level Up Lifestyle.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Level Up Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sheets, coming to you from the Globe Life Studios in McKinney, Texas. And today we have, I know I've been saying we've got a special guest, but we have the special guest of the season. We have our Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Globe Life Liberty National Division, Mr. Steve DiChiaro, in the house. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here. You know, this is, I don't know in the history of podcasting, we're only in our first season, if there's ever been a podcast where someone got to interview their boss. But I've been looking forward to this for a while. I've got so many questions. I didn't write them down because I didn't want to intimidate you with the big, long list. But no, I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story for everybody.
It's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
You know, what we try to do here, again, is there's so many people that are listening to this or watching this on YouTube or however they're consuming it, that, you know, they see you in the company, obviously, and even if they're not with the company, you know, you're a CEO. I mean, that's a very prestigious position. And sometimes you see people that are in these high levels of success and you kind of think, okay, well, they were just born into that. That's, you know, they went to Harvard, they got the CEO job, and, you know, away it goes. And the whole Level Up Lifestyle is talking about the journey that people go through to get to that position and the adversity that they had to overcome. And, you know, there's people that are listening to this that will find relatable things in your journey that maybe they're in those moments. And, you know, as you tell this and as we get to where we are today, it'll be a good experience for them to see what can be if they keep at it and keep leveling up, right, so to speak, right? Excellent. So ready to get into it?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Okay. So I know your story. I've known you for quite a while.
Yes, many
but
years.
I'm going to talk to you with a whole audience of people that don't know it. So tell us where you're from, where you grew up. What was the childhood like in the DiChiaro house?
Sure. So I was born in Rhode Island, a small town called Natick, just outside of West Warwick.
Okay.
Mom and dad, you know, married, of course, and had a brother, younger brother, still do. He's 1 year younger than I am, 1 year and a day, actually. And my mom and dad got divorced when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
My mother remarried when I was 5, relocated us to Virginia.
So most of your formative childhood is growing up in Virginia.
Correct.
Then.
Yeah. I went to, all of my education was in Virginia, elementary school, high school, college, everything was in Virginia.
Like D.C. area or what part of Virginia?
Northern Virginia. Yeah.
Okay.
Fairfax County Schools.
Yeah.
And then I went to Radford University.
Okay.
You know, it was a less than desirable childhood. You know, my mom got re-divorced at 12 when I was 12.
Okay.
So they were married for about 7 or 8 years, got divorced again. And then she didn't have, she had a high school education. So the only thing that was really afforded to her, the ability for her to earn money to you know, support us, was bartending and, you know, waitressing kind of jobs and things of that nature. So she was a bartender for a while and then became a bar manager. And what that meant was that she'd go to work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, come home at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So a lot of our communication was on a whiteboard in the hallway.
You're going to school.
I'm going to school.
And she's going to bed.
She's going to bed. And,
yeah.
you know, there would be mornings that she would come in and sit on my bed and we'd talk and so on and so forth. But unfortunately, during that time, my brother was an alcoholic. So my brother was an alcoholic from age 12.
Wow.
And for many, many years. So it was kind of my responsibility to go find him before she came home so I wouldn't get in trouble for him being out.
So you're protecting you and protecting your brother a little
Absolutely,
bit.
right.
Yeah.
Because if he's not home, she's waking me up, then I got to go find him and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of challenging. Of course, a single mother with 2 children. We were on public assistance, so food stamps. I know what government cheese looks and tastes like. So that was challenging too, because from age 12 to 17 till I left to college, I did the laundry, I cooked, I did the banking. I had to walk to the bank right there next to Giant Food Store, and the food stamp thing was challenging as well because I lived in a neighborhood where it was somewhat affluent. And we did our best to try to keep up, but
was it like a house or an apartment?
It was a townhouse.
Okay,
townhouse, and I didn't own a pair of Levi's until I went to college. I had tough skins, those little patches on the knees, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I had to overcome that stigma and all that kind of stuff. And I guess when you look back on it, it's kind of benign, but when you're in it, it's a little bit more impactful. These were kids that came from money, Northern Virginia, pretty affluent. So, trying to keep up with them was difficult. So of course I had to have a job. So if I wanted something nice, like a baseball glove, if I wanted to,
you had to go get it.
I had to go get it and earn money on my own. Yeah. So, if it snowed, that was a banner day for me because I could grab my shovel in my lunchbox and go make some money. Yeah. During the summertime, I would take my little electric mower and I'd go cut lawns and make $20, a smash on that. So I always found a way to earn money. And it was just the way I thought things were.
Yeah. But I guess you were aware that, your mom's doing everything that she can.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to take care of your brother, but there's a time where you're like, there's other families that are living at different levels. This is where we are, and you're having to work. So you're aware of that scenario.
Yeah. And, the embarrassment that, I remember vividly one time a girl I was dating, her mother was in the grocery store and I was in line with my food stamps. And I just,
because you're doing all the shopping and everything.
Yeah, of course. I mean, she's sleeping, going to work, waking up. So I panicked and I was like, I got to get one more thing. And I ran out of the grocery store.
Wow.
Just mortified. And looking back on it, it's not that big a deal then, but when you're 14, 15, 16 years old and the girl that you're dating's mother's in line behind you and you have food stamps in your hand, it's a little,
well, it's
a little challenging.
Yeah, and everything's a little more magnified when you're in your teenage years too.
Of course. I mean, one pimple in your, you go berserk.
Right.
Let alone being there with a handful of food stamps.
Right.
Listen, that certainly helped forge who I am today. Right. I mean, you don't get tangled up on the little things anymore, right? Just some of the things that just pull people off sides, just don't pull you off sides when you had to deal with that kind of stuff as a child.
Sure. Do you think it also influences your work ethic that you've had? I mean, obviously you've worked very hard to get to the position that you are and have the lifestyle that you have. Yeah. I'm sure that's motivating for you to make sure that you provide for your kids at a different level. You live a different life now.
Certainly. I mean, I don't hold myself as the example of the work ethic, but I found an industry where all I had to do was outwork you and I could win. Yeah. So that was easy for me. But on the same token, it was tough. My mother was doing everything she could, but again, come from a long line of alcoholics, unfortunately, and mental illness. And unfortunately, my mother was stricken with that. And when I look back, I was angry when it was happening, but you look back and it wasn't really her fault. It's the way she was raised, and there wasn't a lot of education around mental illness, right? It was more of a, stigma. It was more of a
don't talk about it,
taboo thing that you don't discuss. And, so unfortunately, when I completed high school, I was going to college. It was always my mission to go to college.
What drove you to want to go to college? Just
my
wanted
uncle,
to do more?
So my mother's brother was the first one I ever went to college. He was an accountant. I went to school to be an accountant, if you can imagine that. So went to school to be a CPA. And I got
glad you're not doing my taxes.
And I got through the tax accounting. I'm like, there's no way I can do this for the rest of my life. So I changed to business administration, economics, and everybody's heard my story. I loved college. And the reason I loved college is because I had the freedom and the flexibility to do things I want to do that I didn't have as a child growing up in a house where I was responsible for everything. And unfortunately, I was going to college. Now, the summer of my senior year, when I graduated high school, my grandfather was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Okay. And my grandfather was 52 years old, never left the state of Rhode Island.
Wow.
Never left the state of Rhode Island is 45 square miles.
Did you get to see him often then, or you had to go there? Obviously?
No, Christmas, holidays, stuff like that. So we would always travel back to the East Coast for the holidays and things of that nature. Christmas break. I mean, not summer break.
You drive up there a couple hours, right?
8 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, 8 hours. 1 hour flight. And we would go up there and spend the summer. The thing I looked forward to the most was getting out of school and going to Rhode Island, spend an entire summer with my Italian grandparents. I mean, you want to talk about being coddled and taken care of and nurtured. Just, my grandmother was 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. You just run into her. Oof. She would give you a hug and always have food ready. And you'd wake up to the smell of food cooking. And just a wonderful part of my childhood.
Well, so, you probably almost also felt like a little bit of a release if you're taking care of everything during the school year, and now you can be. You can be a kid.
Well, those were my younger years. During my older years, I stayed in Virginia and pretty much played baseball all summer long.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So my senior, after I graduated, a town called Waynesboro, Virginia, the Waynesboro Generals. It was a summer league, and you would stay with a host family. So you would go down there and you would work on the farm, or you would work in the fields or whatever, and at night you play baseball. And I did that for about 6-8 weeks. I came home, and during the time I had left to go play baseball and came home, my grandfather came down because he had like 30 days to live, 60 days to live. Wow. And my grandmother and my mother and my grandfather decided they don't want to be up there by themselves. They want to be with their family. And when he passed away, we'd be there. Unfortunately, I came home July 28th. My mother and I had a very heated argument. And that next morning, when I woke up, she was dead. And she died on July 29th. My grandfather died August 10th. So I went to 2 funerals in a 2-week period. Then I went to college. So needless to say, when I went to school, I had a good time because I no longer had the responsibilities. I was trying to get rid of the grief. I dealt with it in a way that most people shouldn't deal with it. I just went nuts. But again, that kind of gives you some of the background of the story you've heard before, that 5 years, 4 summers, and no degree, because I just, I excelled very well at things after 5 p.m. in college.
Well, and you had to kind of grow up a little bit while you were growing up, taking care of your family, and then this happening. Right.
But the thing that was astonishing to me when I got to school is I saw kids trying to become adults, and I was an adult trying to become a kid. So I knew how to do laundry. I never had pink shirts. Yeah. Because I knew that you separate the whites and the colors. Right. I knew how to balance a checkbook.
This was a white shirt, by the way, when I bought it.
Right. I knew how to balance a checkbook. I knew how to, shop and things. I knew how to cook. Yeah. Most things that people were learning when they got to college, I had already learned.
You're self-sufficient, To an extent. Yeah. To an extent.
So college was a good experience for me. I obviously didn't maximize the opportunity when I was there. But again, I think everything in your life is a part and parcel of who you are today, right? Yeah. So it's all those, what you say all the time, it's all those little insignificant events that you're not cognizant of while it's happening, create who you are in the end.
Absolutely.
And I think that's certainly part of it because I went through a lot of adversity during that time. So college ended and it was time to go to life. Get back out to the real world. Can't ride your Schwinn all the time through life. So I had to go back to school, go back out there, cut my hair. I had long hair at the time.
Really?
Which people would find hard to believe.
Let's see if we can't find a picture. And for everyone on YouTube can see this here. Or maybe we'll redo a bobblehead, or
between the hemp bracelets I had and the earrings I had and the long hair that I had. Thank God there wasn't Facebook back then.
Oh, sure.
No one had a camera phone. So most of what I'm telling you can't prove.
You had to go get that film developed, right? And we'll look for some negatives in your closet.
Go to a little Kodak booth and get the photo mat and all that stuff. So college I enjoyed too much, obviously. And then it was time to go to life. And
so what'd you do?
What I knew was the Northeast, so I moved back up to Rhode Island. Is
there still some family up there, or you just
I've got a brother and 2 sisters up there.
Okay.
Yep. So my family's up there. Parents have passed away. My father passed away. I'll get to that. So get up there, stay with my stepbrother and his wife, their children, and don't really know what I want to do. Maybe continue my education. I was probably, a year and a half away from getting a degree, whatever the case may be. But I happened to, my sister-in-law mentioned this place called Ocean State Nurseries, and it was in Scituate, Rhode Island, up in the northwest part of Rhode Island. I went in, I did an interview. I had done a lot of manual labor, obviously in the summer times as a teenager. So I knew my way around farm equipment, that kind of stuff. They hired me on in the yard loading mulch rather.
Okay.
I did yard work for a while. Then they moved me to the farm. There was a planting operation where I worked with 3 Cambodian guys that didn't speak a word of English. So we would trade meals back and forth. I would have Cambodian food. They would have Italian food.
This sounds like a reality TV show concept here.
Over time, I learned a few words. They learned a few words. And we communicated and did that for a couple of years. Then I moved into the retail operation. There was 3 locations, one in Scituate, one in Warwick, and one in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Okay. So I started in the Seekonks. I started in the Scituate, Rhode Island store. Then I moved to Warwick. And then Fred Richwine, who was the owner, kind of had me be the district manager. And I did that for 5 years. And, I sit back and reflected at the point is, listen, I'm as high as I'm ever going to go. I'm making like 45, 50 grand a year, whatever the case was back in 1992, 93, whatever it was.
It's not bad for a kid out of college.
But that was going to be it.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a family-owned business.
And you're running it for them, basically.
I'm running it, soup to nuts. I'm kind of the district manager.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
They're on a boat.
Exactly.
You're on the farm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. They're out on Martha's Vineyard enjoying themselves, and I'm planting stuff out at the farm.
Yeah.
And again, for 50 grand, it was an equitable trade for the point I was at in my life. And I just decided this isn't what I want to do anymore. So I knew it was never going to be mine. I mean, it was Marie and Fred Richwine. They had children. One day they were going to turn over to the kids. So I put an application at Home Depot. And having 5 years garden center experience, Home Depot had the wisdom to hire me in the garden center and have me load bags of mulch. So I start all over again.
Starting over.
All over again.
Yeah.
And I made my way to garden department manager. Then I did other departments in the building. I became an assistant store manager. And then try to figure out the years here. 98, my father was diagnosed with cancer, pancreatic cancer. Survived for 6 months. And my brother and my sister and I did 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day, taking care of him. He was a big guy, worked construction his whole life, and probably a 225, 230 pound guy. When we buried him, he was about 130 pounds.
Wow.
So I saw over a 6-month progression, him just wither away. And there's nothing more debilitating than you having to shave your father. Yeah. Give him a shower and a bath and things like that. When you looked at him as this just image of strength. And he was a construction union worker, and he's one of those guys. Big
blue
dude.
collar,
And I'm having to carry him and change his diaper and all that kind of stuff. And just, it was hard to watch and hard to be there. But that was a 6-month period, passed away. And during that time, some emails came out from Atlanta, which was the home office for Home Depot. And there was opportunities to move to the West Coast. And I was one of the young and the restless at Home Depot. So I went from store to store to store to store. No ties to anybody, no ties to anything.
Are you getting promoted as you're moving around, or just
somewhat?
Whatever?
I'm really there's a lot of freedom because you're going to work at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning. I did a lot of setups in the stores.
Okay.
So most of the New England stores I set up. And back then, Home Depot, you would get a 100,000 square foot box, 10 tractor trailer loads of those uprights, those orange uprights that you would see. And then you would just take a drill and a hammer, put a drill, bang the bolt in the ground, tighten the nut, put the uprights in, put the beams in, go to lumber, take the lumber, cut them in 18-inch lengths and put them on the shelves. You built the store from the inside out.
Wow.
And it gave you ownership.
Yeah.
You had pride of ownership when it happened.
These aren't construction workers coming in building it. No. It is you're the Home Depot employee building your own store.
Me and 100 people.
Yeah.
And it's around the clock, 24 hours a day. And I mean, when you took a 100,000 square foot slab of concrete with 4 walls and you built Home Depot.
Wow.
Inventory came in, you packed it out, you put the beams on, the stickers on, everything was yours.
You're getting nostalgic if you walk into a Home Depot now where you see,
I see how easy they have it. It's ridiculous.
You're the uphill both ways in the snow with the checkout version.
Absolutely, yes. We did this without a roof. So, but yeah, it's kind of neat to go in there. But then they needed experienced managers to open up the Western market, and Colorado was the place I wanted to go. So I enjoyed my time in Colorado, and it's where I met my wife, Holly.
So did you set up that store the same way that you did
absolutely
on the East Coast?
You bet.
Okay.
You bet. Yep. So and we came from all over the country. So these are people from all over the country that came together with different ideas and thoughts and processes, and it was neat. It was kind of an amalgamation of all the different kinds of cultures that were out there at Home Depot throughout the country. So again, I got there as the assistant store manager for the garden department. Kind of in Colorado, I worked my way up to store manager. And during that process in Colorado, the Home Depot had changed leadership. Okay, and a lot of people can relate to this. Mm-hmm. I was raised under Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank. Right, so these guys have founded Home Depot. These are the guys that would, in 1976, when they founded the company, if you ever had the opportunity to read the book Built from Scratch, it's a great book.
Okay.
And it's Bernie and Arthur talking about their journey and how they built Home Depot.
They wrote the book.
Okay. Yeah, but got with another guy named Ron Brill, who's kind of the silent money guy. But Arthur and Bernie were the face of the company.
Okay.
And they would talk about in 1976, they had 4 stores in Atlanta. I think I got the date right. They had 52,000 items on the shelf. And they would literally sit in the parking lot and jump on people's cars that walked to their car with nothing in the shopping cart. And they would ask, why didn't you buy something? I had 52,000 items in the store. Why didn't you buy it? I wanted this, that, and that. And they said, come back next week and we'll have it.
These are the owners doing that.
These are the owners.
Yeah.
Jumped on the cars of people leaving the store that had nothing in their cart. We'll have it next week, come back. We'll have it next week, come back. We'll have it next week, come back. So that's how I was raised.
Do the right thing, take care of the customer.
Do the right thing, identify what the needs are, take care of their needs. You take care of what they need, you get what you want.
Yeah.
Right? So bottom line is it switched over. A gentleman named Bob Nardelli came over. No fault to Bob Nardelli. He ran GE for many years, very successful. But he tried to change Home Depot to a light bulb factory.
And I don't know all the Home Depot history. Did they sell the company?
They didn't sell it. It was publicly owned. They just transferred leadership. Yeah.
Got it.
It was a public company.
Gotcha.
So going through that process, and then of course, system changes and process changes, compensation changes, review changes, all things that for the better, but just because it was for the better didn't mean that it was for me. So if you've ever been to in an environment where the culture changes, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. It's just sometimes you identify it's not for you. And I remember coming home for months, maybe a year, just complaining about it. And Holly, my wife, said, why don't you quit? I said, say that again? She said, if you're that miserable, just get out of there. I said, well, that's where the money comes from. That's how we get paid. She goes, listen, you're going to find something. Don't sweat it. Just go ahead and quit.
How long have you been at Home Depot up until this point?
10 years.
So full decade.
Yeah. Most of my formative young adult years.
Yeah.
And I went in and I quit in style.
I can imagine.
I took those 10 years and unloaded in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was escorted to the door. And
are you allowed at Home Depots now, or are you a Lowe's guy?
I think they've taken the poster down. Yeah, they've taken the poster down at this point. But listen, I'm very grateful for what Home Depot taught me. Again, work ethic, responsibility, ownership. Back then, it was your store. You could do with it as you saw fit. You didn't have to have schematics and shelf diagrams and all. You put the stuff where you wanted to put it, and you did the way you wanted to do it. As long as you're growing sales, it was okay. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad stuff that comes with that I won't get into.
Yeah.
But,
there's probably stores that think they're doing it the right way, and it's hurting them.
Of course. So there had to be some continuity. There had to be some SOP, suggested operating procedures, those types of things. Right. So I understand the need for the change. But again, it just didn't fit who I was and how I was raised. Quit that. And I'm on the couch for 4 months. Holly thought it was going to be 4 weeks. So,
and you quit, so there's not like a severance package here.
No. I mean, got unemployment for a couple of months or whatever.
Yeah,
$600 didn't go far with a family of 4.
Right.
Okay. So she was working at the time.
You got 2 kids at home.
Have a house, a mortgage, car payments, the whole 9 yards. Yep. And that's why I was so astonished when she allowed me to quit. But as fate would have it, I get a phone call one day from a guy named Bill Jennings, and Bill is a agency owner at American Income. and calls me up and says, "Hey, Steve, I got your resume. And, for many of you that are listening to this, if you're with our company, my question was probably the first question that you had. I'm really pleased that you got my resume, Bill, but did you read it?
Right.
So why the hell are you calling me? I don't want to do insurance. I certainly don't want to do sales."
And this Bill actually called you.
Yes, Bill, the agency owner called me. Yeah. And he said, "Well, some of the stuff that you've done in your past may put you in line for leadership here." And I said, "Bill, that's flattering, but listen, man, I don't want to do sales. I sure as hell don't want to do insurance." He goes, "What are you doing right now?" And I said, "Nothing." He said, "Doesn't it make sense to come in and talk to me?" Logically, that made sense. So I went in, talked to him, and I'll never forget. It was a 3-interview process, right? So the first was the initial interview. The second one, you come back for a group interview, and the third one is a final interview. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Listen, like what I've heard, if we're interested in you," this was on a Tuesday, "if we're interested in you,"
it was the first interview.
Yeah. "If we're interested in you, we'll call you tonight by 6 p.m. Key part, by 6 p.m. And we'll have you back Thursday at 10 o'clock for an interview, for your second interview. It'll be in a group setting so we can discuss it all at once." And I remember going home and telling Holly, she asked me how to go. I said, "It doesn't matter how it went, I'm not going to do it." She goes, "Well, what did they say?" I said, "Well, if they want me, they're going to call me by 6. So it's 6:02,
phone
7:15, 8:30. Now I'm getting pissed, right? Why did they call me?
Yeah.
I don't want the job. I just want to tell them no, right? That's ego and pride just going.
And you want to be wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
Hubris just run amok, right? I don't want the job. I just want to tell you no. I just want to refuse you. Something I'm working on today. So, so we go through at 10 o'clock. They call me at 10 o'clock.
10 p.m.
10 p.m. Right? And I'm so pissed I answer the phone.
Yeah.
"What?" "Well, Mr. DiChiaro, we'd like to have you back for an interview." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." Click. She goes, "What'd they say?" "I'm invited to the interview at 10 o'clock on Thursday." And she goes, "Okay, great." She goes to bed, dismisses me, and I go on about my business. So Wednesday goes by, it's Thursday morning, 8:30, I'm on the couch, and I'm watching ER, the original ER with George Clooney, right? So this is first run, this isn't rerun. I'm sitting there, and she comes down, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What's it look like I'm doing?" "I'm watching television." She goes, "Well, I thought you had the interview." I said, I thought we had this discussion. I'm not doing this. Listen, I'll go sell cars before I sell insurance. You understand me? She goes, "What are you doing right now?" I said, "Nothing." She goes, "Then you better get your ass in there." And my right hand to God, June 3rd of 2003, that's how my career started. My wife shamed me into the second interview.
Yeah.
Thank God she did. Where would I be without her tenacity to make sure that I at least did something? Maybe it wasn't what I was going to do for the rest of my life, but she insisted that I did something.
Yeah. I think she wanted a couple hours to herself too. And you had to drive down from Greeley.
Well, maybe she didn't want the pressure of supporting the family anymore.
Yeah, that could be. So she's working, and she's
of course she's working. Yeah.
So did you? If you go all the way back from like childhood, what you did as in your teenage years, to then getting into business and then moving to Colorado, and of course you meet Holly and you have kids and all that. Is there in your mind kind of the life that you want and you're not there yet? I mean, in other words, are you thinking like, this is how I want to live my life, this is the lifestyle I want to have? You're out looking for that. Obviously you leave Home Depot, and did something click in the second interview that brought you in? Or
I wish I was that insightful. I wish I was that.
You were just day to day.
Listen, I was doing that till I found something else, right? Because I'm a big box retailer.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 10 years, man. I run Home Depot. I'm waiting for Lowe's to call, and I'm waiting for Walmart, Costco.
So this wasn't like, okay, burn the bridges, burn the ships. I'm in.
Absolutely not. I had one toe in, let alone 1 foot in.
Yeah.
I wasn't bought in at all. I mean, it took years before I got in the business. And my career path emulated that. I didn't take it serious in the beginning. I was a horrible agent. I didn't listen. I didn't learn the script. I mean, with my ADHD, trying to learn a 17-page script. Are you kidding me? Like, ooh, squirrel. Oh, look, something at the grocery store.
And some of the people that are just getting started with the company right now, you've got a laptop, you've got a short presentation. I mean, this is kind of like you talking about how it used to be at Home Depot to the new people to here. I was raised in that 17-page script, flip book, 30 pages, a rate book,
an hour and a half presentation.
Yeah, in every house you got to give 5 a day.
Yeah.
And
giving out AD&D certificates for cans of food. I mean, just all the stuff that we had to go through. But again, it took years in the business before I finally realized it. And again, my wife supported me the entire time. Listen, I'm like many of you out there that have quit this thing 1,000 times in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I've just never been dumb enough to do it in my mouth.
Yeah.
So, I struggled. I didn't take the opportunity seriously to train people. I didn't take the responsibility for guiding their careers and their lives.
So it's not an immediate ascension to you're doing really good. Now you're an agency director. Now you're an agency owner. Now you're the CEO. It's not just straight
No, I was an agent. Then I was an SA. Then I was a GA. Then I got promoted to what at American Income is the equivalent to an AD, which is the MGA position.
Mm-hmm.
I got promoted to that 3 times. So it doesn't take long to figure out why that.
There's not 3 levels of the MGA
levels of MGA,
contract.
no.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of this in my career. And again, grateful for Bill Jennings, who saw something to me that I didn't see in myself. Grateful to my wife for supporting me when I didn't really deserve the support because I wasn't putting in the effort that she was putting in.
Yeah.
So just, I'm blessed to have good people in my life that saw something that I couldn't see. So they believed in it enough for both of us. And sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes, someone else believing in it enough for the both of you to get through the hard times and to finally realize what this opportunity can bring to you. So
did you find yourself doing that for other people later on in your career? Once you were fully in, this is it, and you're succeeding, can you reflect back on that saying, I'm going to believe in this for you when you don't?
Yeah. And I've told so many people, listen, just believe that I believe it for now. And let's see if we can get through it together. I will freely discuss my failures because I think that's what forged the opportunity for me, overcoming the adversity. I just failed a lot quick. I failed really, really frequently in the beginning.
You're ramming the wall.
Oh God, I didn't walk into it. I ran through it. And I wasn't smart enough not to do it again. But I also have the elation of seeing people succeed with my little bit of input.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not confused in this business. The agent, the SA, the AD, the AO does the heavy lifting. If I can give 1 or 2% of guidance or direction or course correction, then I think I've done my job. But again, I'm not confused who does the heavy lift because listen, I was an agent, I was an SA, I was an AD, I was an SGA, I was an executive vice president. I know the struggles that come with every one of those positions and the apprehension and the fear and the insecurity that comes with it. So I'm appreciative of those that make it, and appreciative of those that attempt it.
I think those things probably stay with you though,
Sure.
and influence how passionate you are in making sure that that newest person in the business is taken care of and making sure that they're trained and making sure that they have the opportunity, because that's partly what, you saw both sides of that for you coming up.
I take the commitment very seriously when people join our organization. We don't have MBAs joining us at any great frequency. We don't have Harvard graduates joining us at any great frequency. For most of us, this is a default position, right? We never went looking for it. It kind of found us.
Mm-hmm.
And in so much as that it found us, we don't really have the gratitude for being here in the beginning. So us blazing the path for others that come into this industry that don't have a good education, that don't have a work history that may allow them to earn a 6-figure income or better. I know that anybody that has a desire to change their circumstance and is willing to put in the effort can achieve anything they want in this company because I'm living proof of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this a million times. I'll keep saying it till they drag me out of here. You look at my education, you look at my upbringing, you look at my resume, and you look at who I am today, it makes no sense. It doesn't add up. You'd never connect these dots. And that's true of so many people out there that just joined this company last week, last month, last year. You have no idea where this can take you. I mean, from the lows that you experience, which are sometimes unfathomable, to the highs that you experience, which sometimes are unfathomable, and everything that comes in between, as long as the comeback is better than the setback, you're okay. And you just got to realize that this too will pass.
Yeah. But I think it also speaks to, it's not always where you come from, it's what's inside you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there's something inside of you no matter what your background and upbringing was, that once that comes out,
right.
it's game over.
Yeah. I mean, especially in this opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
There is no limit to what you can achieve. So don't sit there and cry about what you don't have because of the work you didn't do. Right? You got to put the time in. You got to put the effort in. And to have what you and I have, you have to do what we've done.
Absolutely.
You got to go through it.
Yeah. So can you talk about a moment where maybe you started to really see how lives can be changed with this opportunity?
Well, of course, I've witnessed other people's lives change, but for me, it occurred at a very unexpected moment.
Okay.
So my very first convention was at the Fiesta Americana in Cancun. 2008, maybe 2006, 7, somewhere in there, right?
Okay.
So I started with the company in 2003. I didn't qualify the first couple of years because of what I enumerated
already
earlier.
discussed.
Yes, yeah. That's obviously why I didn't qualify. But I think we finally qualified, and Holly and I were so excited that we finally got this trip, and we're gonna, get to rub elbows with the top 10, 15, 25% of the company, right? Which is really what I think is the benefit of convention, is just, steel sharpens steel, right?
Yeah.
So we get there, and
the company flies you down.
Flies us down, hotel, and
meals and all that.
Meals, right? So it's all inclusive, Fiesta Americana. We get to the check-in, and they ask for a credit card. And of course, I didn't have a credit card, I had a debit card. And
for a hold.
Okay, but I wasn't realizing this. So they say, okay, we're going to have a $300 hold on your account. And I'm like, I got $305 to my name in the world. So where I should be excited, where I should be happy, where I should be looking forward to this event, I'm paralyzed with fear because I got $5
Wow.
to make a week. And I just won a freaking contest. We're paralyzed. We're panicked. So Holly and I run across the street, and there's a Telemex phone booth. And I remember getting on that phone booth, Holly calling her parents, and they wired us $500.
Wow.
Right? So thank God that we had people like that believed in us. Wired us $500. We went back upstairs. And of course, we watched everything we did. We had to scrutinize every dollar that we spent, right?
You are getting all of the all-inclusive.
Oh, yeah. We went to lunch twice. And so
load up.
Load up. So, and it just, where you should have been excited about what was just being provided for you because of the place I was in my career and the place I was in my life and the place I was in my relationship with the company, I couldn't fully enjoy it. Fast forward 10 years. I'm not an agent. I'm the executive vice president of the company. I don't show up in a bus. Number one, I didn't show up in a plane. I show up in a private jet.
A little different.
Experience, right? Yep. I don't show up in a van, a bus. I show up in a private vehicle. I don't go to the check-in desk. I go to a private elevator, glass elevator, goes up to the top. I'm greeted with champagne, amenities, so on and so forth. Mr. DiChiaro, blah, 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 blah.
A butler.
A butler. Presidential suite, I think, something, right? And I look out the window. There's a phone booth.
Wow.
10 years ago, that we were panicked at. Panicked. Just total fear. And it's amazing what can happen in a 10-year period with this company. So I go from panic to start treatment. I go from not knowing what's coming next to looking forward to everything that's about to occur. Going from uncertainty to success. And I get emotional about this because I know there's people out there right now that are just panicked about the opportunity. They're panicked about the next week, the next month, the next year, what's going to happen. And all I can tell you is that 90% of the people that are listening to this have a better education than I do, have a better history family history than I do, and you got a better resume than I do. So if somebody like me can go from that absolute panic and fear to the elation of being there and being the host to the top performers in the company, it's at anybody's disposal. Anybody can do this if you have a desire to change your circumstances and you just apply yourself to your craft. So, I am eternally grateful for the support that I've been given over the years to get to where I am today. And it's not lost on me that although you may achieve the highest level of recognition or success, there's still some apprehension and fear that goes with that. So I guess my recommendation is, just keep going through it. Keep going through it, and if you truly want the opportunity of a lifetime, it's possible here at Globe Life Liberty National Division.
That's got to be such influential in your just desire to take care of new people in this business. Because you've seen it, you've lived it.
I mean, you're being celebrated as a winner, and still you felt like a loser. And time heals most issues. And for me, 10 years was the day. And again, you feel good about yourself. You were there, and now you're here, and But again, I'm not confused that it's the people in my life that got me there. Yeah. I'm blessed to have good people in my life.
It's interesting the distance that you've traveled in life in those 10 years. You talked about you had 10 years at Home Depot, right? And then 10 years here in this business, and how that ends with all these things that you've been able to now experience after 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Which seems like an eternity when you're in it.
Yeah.
But the blink of an eye when you look back.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
So let's go back. You go through this period of time where you're figuring it out. You start to take it seriously. Mm-hmm. Maybe you start to see the income and the opportunity. And then, what was kind of the leadership situation that you were receiving maybe towards the, towards the end of that?
Not unlike a lot of agency owners, sometimes they at the end of their career, they just disengage a little bit. And I had the benefit of having the best of Bill Jennings when Bill Jennings was just killing it. I mean, he was a council member. There wasn't a better recruiter in the company.
Absolutely.
There wasn't a better leader in the company. And unfortunately, over time, sometimes those passions wane, and you don't put the effort in that you used to. And it was tough. It was tough, because I just had another child. Holly and I just had Garrett. This was in 2008. And that's kind of when Bill decided that, maybe retirement was in his near future. Mm-hmm. And it was hard. As good as you think you are, you still need a leader, right? I mean, every Olympic athlete has a coach.
Right.
They've made it to the pinnacle of their sport, and you still need a coach. And although we were good, you were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were there.
I remember.
We still needed a coach. Yeah. And it's kind of hard with a ship without a rudder. It's wherever the wind blows you.
Yeah.
And
driving in circles.
And unfortunately, we got blown off course every now and again. And then Bill decided to retire. And I was fortunate enough to be there when they needed a change in leadership. You had gone to the home office at this point. Mm-hmm. To start running the training for the work site. The
individual,
the laptop. And I was provided an opportunity to become the SGA in Colorado. And it was an awesome opportunity, scary as heck. It was a tough deal because now I had been there, you had been there when we were writing $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a week.
$100,000.
$100,000 a week, right? So I know what the opportunity looked like in Colorado. But when I was given the opportunity to take it over, it was right about $25,000 a week, but the bills were $40,000 a month. So we were upside down, $15,000 a month, day one.
Did you ever question that decision of, well, I don't know?
You mean when I was staring at the ceiling at 2:00 in the morning for months on end? Yeah, I would question that decision.
Yeah.
But again, the person sleeping next to me kept encouraging me, kept giving me, listen, we're going to get through this. We're going to make this. You know what it looks like when this thing is rocking and rolling. So it took about a year and a half to get that thing up and running. And when I got up and running, man, it was running. It was fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. You see people's careers grow, see people buying into the opportunity. You see people starting to change their circumstance. people buying homes, getting married, having children, those kinds of things, seeing their dreams come true, seeing that lifestyle come to fruition was really, really gratifying.
But you like you said, you'd seen it before. You knew what it could do, and it waned, and then you brought it back. And I think that also speaks to it's not the place, it's the person in a lot of cases, right?
And the people.
Listen, people.
I'm not confused. The people that were in my life helped me get to where I am. Although I'm the one that, I'm the engine on the train. I get to see it first, but everybody behind me is the ones that are pushing me and driving me to get to the next level. So I had you. I had Rich Correa. I had Javier Sandoval. I mean, I had great people in my organization. Josh Goodman. I mean, I just had really, really, really strong leaders, and I was blessed to have you guys. You were part and parcel of my success, no question about it. So I'm always grateful for what you have done and what you did, not just for my agency, but what you did for American Income by taking that leap of faith, leaving a successful MGA position. With commission opportunities, meaning you can earn as much as you want, getting into a salary position, kind of stuck where you're at with money, but obviously developing your career to where you are today. So I think it's been a very good symbiotic relationship between the two of us.
That's a whole episode in itself of the conversations with Roger Smith.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're going to get, but yeah, we'll talk about that at a later date. So you get it humming. It's doing good.
Yep.
You're making money.
Planning on taking new territory.
Can expand.
Yep.
And are at this point, are you thinking like, I've finally found it. This is it.
Yep.
This is gonna, at the beginning you said you weren't thinking about your life and where you wanted to be, but now, are you thinking like this is?
Oh, sure. I mean, now we're making plans because we have the means to make plans. We're dreaming again because we have the flexibility and freedom to dream again.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're financially strapped, you don't dream, you have nightmares. You wake up and you're panicked because the mortgage is due, the rent's due, the car payments are due. Now you wake up and you got dreams. You have the weight of debt off you, which
that's huge.
Which this opportunity provides.
Yeah.
Right? You can eliminate debt, which is so freeing. It's amazing what you can think about when you don't think about the bills. So yeah, we dreamed again. We planned again. And we had I was thinking about, I was going to go to Oklahoma, from Oklahoma to Dallas, and who knows what happened from there, right? Because straight down from Colorado. And then I get a phone call.
And what was that phone call?
Roger Smith.
Who's the CEO?
CEO of American Income at the time. And I'm crushing it this year. I mean, I'm like up 28%. We're doing really well, killing our category. And I'm cocky enough to think he's calling me to put me on counsel.
Okay. And so the council, for people that don't know what that is, it's the top, 10?
10, 12 people
SGAs,
in the organization.
Agency owners that are killing it in all areas, right? You're the best in recruiting and training and developing, and you get to serve on a council, which is kind of a sounding board, more or less, of the direction of the company, and it's very prestigious. It's a huge accomplishment.
Right.
It's an achievement award almost, right? 2 great trips.
Sure.
And you think this is that
and
call.
Holly and I have been looking for that our entire careers as SGAs. Are like, man, I can't wait to go on the council trips. You go to great places, all that kind of stuff. All I'm thinking about is trips.
Yeah.
Not really helping.
Walk around with the council ring. Look, I'm on the council. I'm on the council. So.
Yeah, well, let me show you something.
Yeah. So here's Roger calling to put you on council.
Yep. So his assistant at the time, Jenny, calls and goes, hey, Steve, Roger wants to talk to us. All right, Jen, no problem. So I'm all, I know what this
using
is all
nicknames
about.
and everything.
I got this. No problem, Jen. Hey, Raj. So said to Mr. Smith. And he goes,
hey, Steve, what are you doing right now?
I'm driving from the office in Denver to my home up in Fort Collins.
Okay.
Loveland. And I'm on I-25 at the bend. I know exactly where I was, at the bend where Mile High Stadium was. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly.
Bend right there.
Yeah. So you're just getting on the road.
In the left lane.
Yeah. Lots of traffic.
Vividly remember this. Driving my car. And he goes, hey, Steve. I said, hey, Raj, how's it going? He goes, do you want to come back? Absolutely, man. He goes, you do? I said, yeah. He said, well, I don't think you do. I said, okay, tell me what's up. He goes, there's this company at Torchmark at the time.
Which is Globe Life now.
Right. Liberty. And I've been asked to go over and CEO that, as well as American Income, to try and get that on track and put some of our systems that we have over here. And I'd like you to come and interview for the executive vice president position. And I was like, so I'm in the left lane. I end up all the way across the highway in the right lane, parked on the breakdown lane, and I'm shaking. And he goes, this was a Wednesday. And he goes, well, I'm going to have Jenny talk to you, and I'm going to fly out on Monday. I'm like, Roger, you're not flying me out on Monday. I said, listen, one of two things is going to occur. I'm going to get a plane ticket tomorrow to be there Friday, or I start driving now. Your choice. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, I'm not going to think about this all weekend. I'm not going to mentally just destroy myself all weekend thinking about what you just said. And a lot of people ask, why would you do that? And the reason that I looked at this as such a great opportunity is because of the respect that I had for Roger. I saw what he had done with American Income. He took it from $99 million to, he took it from $42 million or $53 million to $120 million by the time I left in 11.
Yeah.
And I saw the systems he put in place. I saw the admiration that people had for him. And I thought to myself, if he had 5 or 6 years left, I wanted to get some of that. And if I worked with him every day, I'd be a much better leader. And I knew that Colorado would be fine because Rich Correa was there, Matt Turnquist was there, Javier Sandoval was there. All these guys were there that I knew could absolutely take it to the next level. And they did. Mm-hmm. They absolutely did. So December 16th, 2011, I start commuting to Denver to Dallas. I leave Denver on Sunday, 6 p.m. I'd get to Dallas and leave Dallas at Friday at 6 p.m. And I did that for 6 months back and forth.
Probably the same hours you were working before as an SGA, right?
Yeah, not quite. When you got people like you running your team, you don't have to be there all the time.
Yeah.
So I had a really good life in Colorado towards the end because I had such a great leadership team. And we had systems in place, and we respected the systems. So come here and a little different. What did you know about Liberty before that phone call from Roger? The only thing I knew about Liberty is what Bill used to tell us, that they've got 800 agents in Alabama. How come you can't hire 3 people?
I remember that.
So that was all he used to tell us. That's all I knew about Liberty. So
do they do car insurance? Is it the car? Like, what is it?
Yeah. So obviously that wasn't the reality of the situation.
Right.
But listen, you're talking about a company that had 111 years of history. Older than Quaker Oats, older than the Boy Scouts. I mean, this company had been around for a while, endured every financial crisis this company's ever been through, every war this company's been through.
12 years old when the Titanic sank.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, this company, Liberty National, had been through it. And unfortunately, there was a need for leadership change. It had gotten stale. It had gotten, non-productive. And, Roger coming over, knowing who I was and doing what I did in Colorado, what we did in AIL, brought some systems over, brought some people over. And we just started this slow, carefully thought out plan of, number one, appreciating the people that were still here, which was key.
Because they had gone through a lot.
They go through a lot, man. Listen, I got admiration and respect for everybody and anybody that went through that. I don't know that I'd have survived it, honestly. Yeah. I don't think I've endured that nonsense.
And the people that have listened to this podcast leading up to now, we've had conversations with people like Jason Everett and some other agency owners, Keith Mitchell, that had gone through this. And Keith said that there was a time where it was just like, just keep your head down. Stay off the radar. Don't do anything that draws any attention.
Absolutely.
And things will change. They're going to have to change. And so what I think you had a meeting here at the DFW airport, Hilton, right, somewhere in December, when you've got everybody there.
Yep.
So you're coming in with maybe certain thoughts about how we're going to take this company over, and it's just, let's go. And what were you thinking during that meeting and after that meeting?
I was thinking during that meeting, there's certainly a challenge here, but there's a lot of good people in that audience that deserve better leadership.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had to divert to Roger because, I was raised differently, so a lot of expletives in my coaching back then.
Right. We have gone almost an hour without one right now. That's pretty good, right?
It's because I'm cognizant of it.
Yes.
No, but in all seriousness, I followed Roger's lead. I followed Roger's lead. Listen, Roger was so gracious in those years that anytime there was something wrong, he jumped in front of it. Anytime something went well, he put me out front.
So what was the philosophy for you at that point where I'm going to take this 111-year-old company, the founding company of Torchmark, now Globe Life, right, the original company, and turn it into where it's going today, but at that time, where you think it can go? How do you do that? What's your philosophy?
Well, my philosophy was Roger's philosophy, which was in the beginning, just make those deposits of trust. Just get out there and let people know it's going to be okay. Listen, there's going to be change. You're not going to like it. Okay, you're just not, because nobody likes change. You're not going to embrace it in the beginning because it's going to take time to see the results, to have the belief that what we're doing is for the betterment of not just me, but you. I'm not doing this just for me, but hopefully your family can benefit from the change we make as well. And I think if you polled the agency owners today, I would think the majority would say that it's better today than it was 10 years ago.
I think, all of them.
So, and again, we did nothing more than lay out the map. It was up to them to take the journey, right? So those that took the journey, I think have benefited from it. Those that weren't willing to take the journey, I understand because they've been through a lot. So I don't fault anybody for not being here anymore, but I'm grateful for those that stuck it out. I'm grateful for those that led the way. I'm grateful for those that validated our dream. And listen, we're not done. We're not done. Listen, we eclipsed that 100 million. We're going to get to 250 million. You're going to get to 500 million. That's going to happen. And the reason it happens is we got good people. During COVID, I heard something that stopped me dead in my tracks. Podcasts and all the stuff that you listen to when you were just stuck at home. And I was walking across the living room, and it was on television, on the radio or something, and it said, your organization will never be any better than you are as a person. And that just stopped me dead. And the first thing you do is an inventory, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh God, who am I?
That's
who am I? It's like, ugh.
It's a scary proposition.
It's a scary proposition to ask yourself, right? You're holding the mirror up and you're doing a hard inventory. And, I walked away and I slept okay that night. But what made me sleep peacefully was the fact that I know that I had 55, 58, 60 agency owners that were good people. And if I got good people at the wheel, we're okay. We're going to be okay. And that's how we endured COVID. We just had good people at the wheel shepherding through this unprecedented event. We came out the other side okay. Yeah. But, there was challenges long before that.
Oh, sure. And, I did want to talk a little bit about COVID as well, because obviously we both went through that and know kind of how that came, how what we were thinking and what we were trying to go through. But maybe just before that, so, you're incorporating systems, and it's a lot of, I guess, hearts and minds, just winning people over.
Absolutely.
And when did you start to think that, okay, we're getting momentum?
It didn't happen in the first 2 years. Let me tell you that.
No, it didn't.
So, it was very, very humbling. We brought over systems, we brought over people, and sales went down from 2011, down again in 2012, down again in 2013. And that was very humbling. There was a guy here at the time, his name was Vern Herbal. And he pulled me aside one day, and I was just, I was visibly not pleased with what we were doing results-wise. He pulled me aside one day, he goes, listen, you've been out there in the field now driving a speedboat for 10 years. So you turn the wheel and it turns hard left. You turn the wheel, it turns hard right. He goes, you're on a ocean liner now. He goes, you can turn that damn wheel all you want. The boat's not going to turn. It takes time for something this large to navigate change.
And every time you turn that wheel, you're disrupting the slow process of what it takes.
So stay the course, do the things that Roger's telling you to do the things that you know are the right things to do. And that was very impactful information for me, because it gave me the patience for the position that I was in. Because before, if I wanted something done, and we talked about it on Monday, by God, it was done on Friday.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works here, because you've got so many different people with so many different backgrounds, with so many different levels of belief in what you're trying to achieve, that it's hard to get everybody to change simultaneously. So one would go, then one would go, then one would. So after time, we had the entire agency owner body moving in the right direction. But yeah, it was frustrating in the beginning. And listen, it's something I should have expected, right? But being naive and a young leader, I didn't realize that. So valuable lesson.
So as we start to grow, the company's really getting momentum, and there again, people that are listening to this that were in that agency owner group, they heard things like buck the trend and let's move. And that happens,
Sure,
right? And it's 2019. It is like the cruise ship has turned. We are on the course, throttle down. We're gonna get there. And then, it's February, March 2020.
I'm in Punta Cana.
Yep.
And start hearing this thing about a virus and COVID and what is that and all that kind of stuff. And we get on a plane, we fly home, come to the office. It was, I think, March 20th or something like that. And
the world's slowly shutting down.
And they send us home. March 23rd, 25th, 26th, somewhere in there. And we're gone for 17 months. Don't come back. The spring break that never ended, as I put it. My kids were home. I was never more than 40 feet from my family for a month, a year and a half. That really challenges relationships. I spent a lot of time in the backyard.
Yeah.
And
helps to have a nice backyard.
Yeah. And sometimes I'd be in the backyard just screaming and yelling, frustrated at the situation because for the first time in my professional life, I didn't have an answer. Home Depot, you got a problem, I got a solution. American Income, you couldn't figure out recruiting, I could help you. You couldn't get referrals, I could help you. I remember getting a call from Kyle Keller. He says, hey, Steve.
Kyle's an agency owner.
Kyle Keller's an agency owner in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Brand new agency owner, by the way.
Yeah.
He said, hey, man, the state of Pennsylvania just shut me down. I said, what does that mean? He goes, only essential workers can travel out of their home. I said, what's an essential worker? So he sends me the document. I send the document here to the home office. And I remember legal, compliance, at the time, Larry and Gary, who were co-CEOs. Mm-hmm. In a 24-hour period, somehow we became essential workers, right? So that's a testament to the agility of the company that we work for.
And a company that's in tune with
the needs of people.
The needs of people. People that are dependent on their ability to get out there to earn an income.
See businesses, see homeowners, see people where they work and live. Yeah. And if I have to stay in my home, that's impossible. So again, just the impotency that you feel as a leader without a solution to people that rely on you for direction and leadership was very humbling. And again, just frustrating moments in the backyard, just screaming at the wind.
So we were talking to Stephanie Briggs in her episode, and I hadn't realized this. So she was talking about the COVID time when she had just gone to open up an expansion office for her agency owner, and everyone in her office quit. And it was her and one other person and kind of the whole mindset that she had to go through that. And you can listen to the episode. But the interesting thing that she said that I didn't realize this, they were writing business. They go from Indiana to Illinois. They were stopping them at the border.
Yeah. And
they had to show that they they had to show the document just to cross state line. I had no idea, how impactful that moment was.
Yeah.
That
one document.
Yeah, they were able to get everything. That down. Yeah. So, and even, I remember right as COVID was happening, we talked about council and how you really wanted to be on the council. We had the council at Liberty, and we had a council meeting that was canceled.
Yeah.
And we did it virtually in the boardroom here. And the second day we said, hey, we're going to have to cancel this meeting virtually because we got to go figure out the virtual presentation and get this done in the next 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, something that would normally probably taken 2 years, we accomplished in 2 weeks. I mean, you and I were on phone calls 7 o'clock on a Saturday night, talking to marketing department, talking to the legal department, compliance, talking to anybody that could help us get to where IT. I mean, it was all hands on deck to make sure that the agency force could survive this event. And that's what it was. It was survival. Yeah. We didn't thrive during those years, but we survived. And we had a foundation of leadership that we could grow with when we came out the other side. And I'm grateful for all the changes that were made by the home office and Globe Life and Torchmark at that time to at least respect the agent enough to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies just said, listen, we'll see you on the other side.
Hope you make it.
Hope you make it.
How important is it to have just that synergy in an organization, if you're a leader in an organization with multiple departments, that when a crisis or a challenge comes up, to be able to have the synergy, the ability to break down silos and come together? Because that also slows down a lot of companies when things like this happen.
Yeah, listen, that's been a culture here for years, and it's something that I truly cherish because
And protect.
Because my problem is everybody else's problem. Their problem is my problem. Listen, we don't succeed by ourselves. There's no way that Liberty National gets to where it is without the help of legal, actuary, marketing, the branding that we went through, all the stuff that, that I had to have faith in. I was an opponent of it in the beginning, wrongfully so. Mm-hmm. It's been a wonderful experience for us as we move forward. But again, it wasn't the way I was raised. We had our name and we had our pride and we had, we're the founding company. Like I've been here for 100 years, right?
Right.
I've been here for 6 years when that started. But I still had the pride of ownership of the name and the opportunity. But again, having open mind, accepting new ideas, those types of things, the things that I was asking my people to do, I wasn't willing to do, which is kind of ironical. But over time it was, expressed to me that that's probably the best way to move it. And I just had to learn it on my own time. So I understand the transition that our ancients went through because I had to go through it myself in a microcosm, not to the extent that they did, but again, had to, get my mind open to new ideas and those types of things.
But that's also to what you said earlier is that what gives you the ability to lead is you've gone through these things.
Right.
And you know the way.
Right.
So now we got the company doing really well, achieving goals, we're at $100 million like you mentioned earlier. And we're on a path of continued growth and success. So how do you define your vision and maybe your legacy from this point forward? What's your legacy?
Well, first and foremost, it's you. I mean, people like yourself, it's the people that have endured the pain of change. It's the Brian Canningtons and the Angela Hansons. It's the Mallory Redues and the Vicky Ketrons and the, Tim Adderholtz back in the day and Jeff Miller, who kind of gave us some guidance and, talking old school now, right? I'm talking, Owen Wilson that believed in this in the beginning. And some of the new school people, you got Natalie Whittingham that's killing it. And she's going to be a phenomenal agency owner in the future. You've got people that are just expanding the individual market. And again, I'm so grateful for their belief in what we've done and they're paving the path for those that come afterwards because, legacy can be defined in so many ways and too many people define it by possessions or wealth. And I think to me, the poorest measurement of a legacy is wealth. I think the greatest measurement of legacy is people, the people that have believed in what you are doing, that champion what you're doing, and help you achieve things that you otherwise couldn't achieve by yourself. And again, I'm not confused, man. Listen, I know that you've done the heavy lifting, but I'm gonna claim 2% of it.
Well,
and I'm gonna claim 2% of all those other people out there in the field. I know they've done 98% of the hard work. And when I finally decide to tack a nail in the wall and hang them up, and I turn around and look back, the wealth that I'm gonna feel as an individual, the wealth that I'm going to feel as a leader is going to be the people that have not just embraced what we've brought to this company, but have expanded it, have trumpeted it, have furthered it, and touched many more people than I could ever thought we could touch, just by the belief in what we do and what we believe in. So
it's exponential.
Exponential, yeah. So it's the multiplier, not the thing that adds, it's the thing that multiplies. Yeah. So my legacy is going to be people, and I'm going to be wealthy beyond measure if that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that. I'll give you more than 2% for sure.
Well, that's gracious.
All right.
That's gracious.
Well, and I think I just speak for everybody from the field and the home office and the people that you've impacted, that we really appreciate your leadership and your guidance and what you've done for us and what you've done for this company, because that steered us and it steered everybody in the right direction to have the life that we're able to have through this opportunity, through your leadership. So we really appreciate that.
Oh, listen, and I'm in your debt as well, and the people in the field's debt, because without their belief in what we're doing, without their execution of the things that we brought forward, my family doesn't get to benefit the lifestyle that they benefit. So it is a very mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So Steve, thank you for sharing your story, talking about everything from the beginning. There's things that I've known you for a long time. There's some things that I learned today as well. So, but we're not done yet. We do have a tradition.
Okay.
On the Level Up Lifestyle. You actually know the tradition. I see you looking down here.
I do.
Is we give everyone a bobblehead.
Okay.
As a thank you for participating on the Level Up Lifestyle podcast. So if you're listening, get on YouTube and watch this episode too, because you'll be able to see the bobblehead. So Steve, I want to present to you your official Level Up Lifestyle bobblehead. Here you go.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. And I still have the suit.
Yeah, you still have the suit. Yeah, it's we tried to pick an outfit that you still have. So
very, very, very kind in the caricature.
It's not a roast. It's not a roast. There's another one that we did that we'll give you at the Christmas party.
With a pincushion.
Right? Yeah, that's the voodoo doll.
Exactly.
Not the bobblehead, but so I'll just close kind of the same way that we've done with everybody. You've gone through so much in your life, and if this bobblehead is talking to you. If you're talking to yourself maybe as that kid taking care of the family while your mom's working, or kind of having just gone through those challenging situations going into college, what are you telling yourself then based on what you know now?
Wow. Hang in there, man.
That's good.
Hang in there. Just come back. Just one more day. It's all it takes. Just come back one more day. Just don't let the events of today determine your path for tomorrow. Put it behind you. I know it's hard to believe, but the adversity you went through will determine who you become in the future. And unfortunately, the road to success is paved with adversity, and you've got to get through it. You've got to find a way to persevere and overcome. And just don't ever lose belief in yourself. Don't ever let anybody to diminish your uniqueness. Don't ever let anybody dampen your enthusiasm for what you believe is the opportunity of a lifetime. And if I can give you any advice out there, just come back one more day. I promise you. It'll be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better.
Impactful words.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Steve.
My pleasure. Thanks,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has inspired you on your path to success. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. See you soon on the Level Up Lifestyle podcast.